The game, Ether World, was created 10 years ago as a dating simulator aimed at a female audience. However, for some reason, there were significantly more male players than expected. The game allowed players to interact with a variety of characters, ranging from simple but effective ones to complex but inefficient ones. Among these characters, there was one particularly terrible character, notorious for being incredibly difficult and having poor attributes. Yet, one dedicated player, Beak Yusal, used this character for 10 years. We see a scene with a man pointing his finger, saying, "Shall we begin?" That man is our protagonist, Beak Yusal. It's the end of the day, twilight turning into night, and Beak notices something on his computer screen. He's browsing the game's forum and sees new posts. There's been an update or something, but all the posts are complaints. The first one mentions a random dragon that appeared and deleted their game. Another user asks about this black demon dragon and says their character died and they can't re-enter the game. Someone else complains that their character was deleted too. Beak thinks, a final boss in a dating sim. I thought the game ended once you got with one of the characters. He reads a post from a top player claiming this boss is unbeatable, stating that the black demon dragon has 99% magic resistance, absorbs magic, and has a powerful aura. The player wonders, how am I supposed to kill this? This must be a bug. Beak, pondering over his coffee mug, muses, a monster that cancels magic in a magical world. Is this really a bug? People are saying their characters are being deleted. He thinks, this must be the guy. We see the black demon dragon, the 13th moon of the Black Knight. Beak explores further and finds out about the story. Etha has a cult called the Demonic Humans of Darkness, whose mission is to help an otherworldly entity take over their world. When they succeed, the black demon dragon appears. Beak realizes 90% of the continent has been taken over. I was only interested in PvP, not the story, but it seems messed up. I can't avoid the fight, so I should give it a shot. He prepares to enter the game. The game asks if he will fight the black demon dragon. He responds, yes. He thinks, I'll show you the skills I've gained in 10 years of playing. He focuses, and we see his character facing the dragon. He thinks, it's time to explain my character. His character is the only one in the game that can't use magic. Unlike everyone else, even experienced players avoid using him. Basically, he's the worst character. No, that's an exaggeration. He can use a little magic, just one spell. We see the dragon preparing to attack with black fire aimed at our protagonist. Beak appears startled, but then smiles, teleporting and running along the dragon's neck. He reveals that his only magic is teleportation, allowing him to dodge attacks by getting behind the dragon. The game explains Beak's teleportation ability. He can randomly travel 3 to 10 meters quickly. The direction is random, so if he doesn't control the distance properly, he could die from the impact. The cooldown time is short, mana consumption is high, and there's a 2-second penalty where he can't move after using it, making it impractical for most. But Beak has mastered this skill, controlling the direction and distance while neutralizing the mana penalty. Beak doesn't use any mana skills. He believes teleportation is just a movement skill. Obsessed with this character since the first time he played, he spent the last 10 years using only this non-magical character. We see him cutting the dragon's face and then its neck, ultimately defeating it. The system announces, you have defeated the final boss, the 13th moon of the darkest night. At home, Beak thinks, did I really kill it? He reflects, sure, I'm covered in relics, artifacts, and legendary items, but wow, that was intense. He's still a character that uses no magic. Wow, okay, that's impressive. He starts typing to inform the community that he defeated the dragon, but then a red system message appears in real life. Multiple identical messages say, due to the wrong ending, 90% of the world of Egon has been destroyed. Beak thinks, what? The message continues. However, you were closest to achieving the true ending. Nervous, he reads on. The system urges, please reach the true ending. A light envelops his face, and it seems he's pulled into the computer, leaving only his notebook behind. He suddenly wakes up, gasping for air, lying on a wooden floor in strange clothes. He touches his head and wonders, what is happening, and where am I? He starts trembling. He looks towards the corner of the room and sees a mirror. He glances at it and says, is that Beak Yusal? Oops, my mistake. Guys, it turns out the protagonist isn't Beak Yusal, it's the character. But the guy in the mirror is trolling me because they look alike. The real Beak looked older. Man. Suddenly, a system window appears in front of him. It says, Episode 1, Escape the Pursuit. He thinks, this is the prologue mission of Sun Beak. No way, no way. He reaches into his pocket and feels something. He pulls out a white letter with a golden frame that also has a golden symbol, a star. He says, this is the admission certificate to Stella Academy. He thinks, well, it's hard to believe, but I'm definitely in the Ether world, and I've become Beak Yusal. But then he starts reflecting more calmly. He thinks, okay, I need to think rationally from now on. That voice told me to reach the true ending, but as far as I know, this game doesn't have a true ending. It has multiple endings, but is that really it? Has no one reached the true ending in 10 years? He thinks. Damn, it's not the time to think about that. If my memory serves, right after Beak Yusol wakes up, people start chasing him. We see a group of hooded figures behind him. One of them says, "Where did that mother's son run off to?" Meanwhile, the protagonist is already hiding. He thinks, damn, they're really here. One of the figures notices something. She points and says, "Look, there's a cabin over there. Let's check it out." Beak thinks, what now? There's only so much I can do. I don't know how long I can avoid them, but I can't fight them now. He asks, what should I do? Suddenly, a system screen appears in front of him. The system just notified him that he can use his teleportation ability. I'm calling it teleportation, but the literal translation of blink is blink. But we know blink means teleportation, so I'll stick with teleportation. But it's a specific kind of teleportation, not the kind where you just disappear instantly. He thinks, what? I can use blink. The game explains a bit about blink, which is basically a very fast dash similar to teleportation. Beak's body suffers from magical leakage syndrome, making him unable to accumulate mana. He had only one hope in life, a technique he practiced throughout his life, and now it's back. He keeps looking at the system screen that says he can use the blink ability. We learn more about blink. It's class 0.9, has 1 charge, and the cooldown time to use the ability again is 3 seconds. He thinks, you're telling me I can use blink now? But that was in the game, where I controlled my character with a mouse and keyboard. Meanwhile, the figures outside are already running towards the cabin, and he realizes he doesn't have time. He realizes and says, damn, they're already here. Okay, I don't have time for this. The only thing I can do is try now. Suddenly, the hooded figures are startled because our protagonist dashes past them. Then one says, I found that bastard. Get him. Don't let him escape. Beak thinks, this is the first part of the tutorial. I escaped the pursuers using blink, and he runs through the forest quickly, but the snow doesn't help much. He thinks his pursuers have magical boots and are faster than him, so his only way out is using blink. He's nervous, but thinks, calm down. You've used this ability many times before. Just use your muscle memory. One of the pursuers yells, son of a gun, you're not going to stop, are you? He thinks, damn, they're already here. He realizes the biggest downside of blink. If the user can't control the distance, they might crash into an object and die instant. At that moment, one of the pursuers draws a sword and says, I'll send you to hell now, boy. But Beak thinks using blink is different. He can use it to dodge the pursuer's attack. He's a bit scared at first, but then says, yes, good, I did it. The pursuers exclaim, was that a blink? Is he a sorcerer? The leader says, don't hesitate. After using blink, you're immobilized for 2 seconds, so this is good for us. He looks at our protagonist and realizes he's still running. He asks, why is this guy still running? Beak runs hard, thinking he needs to be more careful. As he continues through the snowy forest, he says he needs to use the uneven terrain to his advantage. He believes that in the game, at this point, if players hadn't learned to use blink, they definitely couldn't pass to the next chapter. In fact, 99% of players who played as Beak didn't even pass the tutorial, and the 1% who did couldn't overcome the 2 barriers, controlling the blink distance and using it continuously. But our protagonist is very irritated and uses blink again. He purposely goes through rough terrain with lots of drops so he can teleport, but the others will struggle to pass through. The leader is shocked by the tactic and starts ordering the other pursuers. He says, magic users, come to the front. Attack that bastard from a distance. 3 wizards prepare, and the protagonist looks back, thinking, they're going to use magic on me. He realizes this is the second part of the tutorial, using blink to dodge incoming magic, and they're magical arrows he needs to dodge. He thinks that in the game, it was much easier because he could see everything behind him in third person on the monitor. It's much harder to avoid them here. Suddenly, a system window appears, saying that his syndrome is actually an ability. Magical leakage syndrome is currently being used. The system recognizes that this syndrome has derived abilities, cognitive acceleration and sixth sense, which can now be utilized. We see an aura forming around the protagonist, and he starts sensing the magical arrows coming close to him. Thanks to the sixth sense, he can beautifully dodge all the magical arrows, but one of them comes very close to his face, and that's when he uses blink to dodge it. The explosion is intense, leaving a crater in the ground. He thinks, yes, that was close. He runs again, thinking, okay, this is the last one. He's already exhausted from running so much. Part 3 of the tutorial, cross a canyon using blink. It's an extremely difficult canyon to cross, with a large cliff and small stone pillars to step on. He realizes the only way to get through is to perfectly control the distance of his blink. After doing that, some wizards who were passing by can rescue me, and the tutorial will be over. To do this, I need to cancel my blink ability. If used perfectly, it lasts only 0.1 seconds. If he fails, he'll die. He says there are apparently 20 floating rocks. He thought they were pillars, but no, they're actually floating. He starts thinking, who was the bastard who designed this tutorial? tutorial. I'm also thinking, who was the programmer who thought, I'll make a little tutorial here. It'll be easy. It'll be easy. He seems very sincere. It can be done. The problem is, we hear one of the pursuers yell, he's here. Oh, my pursuers are closer than I expected. The distance between me and them is approximately 100 meters. Considering my blink has a 3-second cooldown, that's not enough time to cross. It seems the best method to survive now is to kill them all. Now we see the entire landscape. Sorry for my poor English, but this is the good part of this video. It's hard to believe I'll ever be able to fight these guys. Even more so, I've never fought them before. But while in the game, the system wouldn't let you fight your pursuers, here it will be different. Because this is my new reality. No rule says I must blindly follow the game system. Meanwhile, he grabs a knife. Oh, and the feeling of killing doesn't bother me much either. The reason isn't that they're enemies of my parents in the game's story. He hears footsteps and thinks, okay, they're here. He's already armed with his knife. Okay, I think I can win this. They're getting close to the hiding spot, but our protagonist stands up. He reveals himself to the enemies. In front of him, one of them says, here he is. The others, armed with spears, rush towards him. Get this guy now. The spearmen face off against our protagonist, who brandishes his small knife. One of the spear-wielding men says, oh, you think you can fight us alone, you idiot. You're already dead. He starts calculating the distance. My target is 8.7 meters from me. Blink. The man facing him seems to take the attack, and the others are shocked by what happened. We see our protagonist has managed to stab a knife into his chest. The man coughs up blood that splashes on the protagonist's face. I feel the blood dripping down my hands, and I don't feel any guilt for killing him. Actually, he finishes the man by slashing his throat with the knife. After all, I'm killing to survive. After killing the man, he pushes the body. He throws the man's body at the other pursuers to distract them and runs again. One of them yells, don't let him escape no matter what. He thinks, okay, I dealt with one of them, but the next attack won't be easy. What do I do from here? He thinks. Why is it so quiet behind me? Did they give up chasing me? But when he stops on a rock, he sees that man right in front of him. No, they didn't stop. He thinks, damn, they're using magic again. But as he thinks of dodging, he slips on a snow-covered rock. At that exact moment, the man starts casting his magic. We see this glowing magic circle. A fireball heads towards the protagonist. He's desperate to dodge. He sees numerous other fireballs coming his way. Damn, why are there so many here? He sees his salvation, a chicken trapped inside a rock. That's when he uses blink. Just as the explosion happens, he teleports. When the smoke clears, showing the crater left in the ground, one of the guys approaches and says, that'll teach him not to get so cocky. But when the guy realizes there's nothing in the crater, he says, yeah, he starts to panic. He's not here. Meanwhile, our protagonist is already heading towards him with blink and the knife in hand. When the guy realizes it's too late, as our protagonist brings the knife down, he thinks this is one of the peculiarities of blink. It maintains the same force of momentum you had before. With that blink force, he can take down the guy in one blow with his knife. The man screams before dying. The others are left just watching, terrified. As our protagonist finishes off that guy, what seems to be the leader of the pursuers stands in complete shock. Our protagonist looks tired, and the body of the other guy falls into the snow. The protagonist is panting heavily, clearly exhausted. Okay, now there are only two of them left. I need to finish this before the other two arrive. He's holding the bloodied knife, and the guy in front of him says, ah, what a strange guy. Your reflexes are too sharp for a mage. Who are you, kid? He thinks. Yes, my reaction speed is much faster than many professional players. But that's only when we're talking about games. I can't avoid attacks forever, especially at such close range. I need to end this quickly. He runs towards the guy. The guy grabs his sword and says, ha, I've figured out your fighting style. All you use is the knife and blink. If I protect my head and neck, your knife won't even scratch me. They confront each other. The pursuer uses a skill called Ice Wave, but the protagonist uses his only skill, blink. When the guy swings his sword, it's a freezing attack aimed at our protagonist. The guy thinks, ha, idiot, now I've got you. I can't wait to see your face in agony. But it's too late. The protagonist actually blinked to his ally, not him. Our protagonist is already slashing the pursuer's throat. He watches his ally's body fall. He thinks, damn, this guy was running like he'd never fought before, but now. And he says, yeah, earlier. Thanks for teaching me to get better at this. Oh, you bastard. Just because we went easy on you, I'll kill you now. The guy is raising his sword, but our protagonist intercepts. He grabs the spear from the guy he just killed and throws it at the pursuer. The pursuer, paying attention, thinks if the protagonist uses blink, he might counterattack. He believes the protagonist is trying to distract him with the spear, but he says he won't let that happen. He deflects the spear with his sword. Now he thinks, okay, I'll just attack when he gets close to me. But when he realizes it, the protagonist isn't there anymore. The protagonist stabs the guy in the chest. The guy thinks he was planning to attack me from the front all along. A system message appears. appears. Episode 1. Escape from pursuers is complete. Another system screen appears, saying he has gained XP experience. It also says he deserves an additional reward for developing the story based on the Constellation project. Meanwhile, he's all messed up, not even reading it, sitting there covered in blood and still very tired. Understandable, right? The guy just killed a bunch of people and starts trembling when he goes to pick up the knife again. When he looks to the side, he realizes what he's done, noticing the sea of blood he created. He thinks, yeah, this isn't a dream. My first blink, my first battle, and my first kill. He feels a bit bad about the situation, but starts thinking he killed to survive. He finally stands up and says, let's get out of this place. But then he notices something, looking at the bodies. He thinks, although this makes me feel a bit more remorseful, I think it's worth doing this because I have no money. He starts looting the bodies of the pursuers. He finds a pouch filled with gold. He thinks, here are 2 million credits, equivalent to approximately 2 million won. It's better than nothing. Looking back, he thinks, okay, the problem now is, and we see this large cliff. The problem is crossing this cliff. He trembles, facing the abyss. Someone shouts, is anyone there? Hey, here. He thinks it's the group that rescues him at the end of the tutorial. Even though he didn't follow the exact path of the tutorial, they appeared. He shouts, I'm right here. One of the wizards says, there's no bridge nearby. Can you cross? The protagonist says, yes, I'll try. The wizard says, okay, we'll wait for you to get across. Another guy says, but wait, to pass this, he has to be at least a third-class knight. Can a kid like him do it? The other guy says, yeah, I'm not so sure. But when he looks, he gets scared. He sees our protagonist using blink to jump from stone to stone. Our protagonist is very quick, having done this numerous times. They ask, what is this? Is it advanced magic? What's happening with our protagonist? There he is, jumping from stone to stone so fast. It's beautiful to see. Another guy says, it's a blink. They confront the woman who said that. The guy asks her, is that a blink? But with a blink, you don't control the direction or the distance. How is this possible? Suddenly, the guy sees 2 more people on the other side of the cliff. They ask, are those 2 with that kid? Yes, but looking closely, he realizes they're not. The pursuer is already preparing another fire magic aimed at the protagonist. This time, it's not just a fireball, it's a whole torrent of flames. The guy warns our protagonist, hey, watch out, he thinks. Crap. But at the last moment, he uses blink to jump to another stone and avoid it. When he looks back, as the smoke dissipates, he sees 2 more pursuers behind him. He thinks they're the same mercenaries. Okay, this is dangerous. Blink has a 3-second cooldown. It's almost impossible to dodge everything. I need to find the next stone to support me. He's surprised because he sees the wizard already preparing another ability to cast at him. It's a spike magic, and one of them almost hits the protagonist. It gets so close that it cuts a lock of his hair. The stone cracks, and he starts to fall off the cliff, trying to hold on. He thinks, damn, the stones are too far from me. I just need to step on one of them. With a lot of effort, he manages to blink close to a stone and stretches his hand to grab it. He catches it at the last moment. He thinks, okay, I survived. But he's hanging from the rock, a big rock right at the top of a tall cliff. Another fire spell comes his way, and he thinks, maybe I didn't survive after all. From here, he can't dodge. He thinks, damn, I'm going to die here. But it looks like a shield cancels out the spell. It wasn't really a shield, though. It was another spell, a water spell. He thinks, what was that magic just now? It wasn't water. It was ice covered in electricity, says the protagonist. Does someone with dual attributes appear in the tutorial? He thinks the accuracy of that. The trajectory. Sorry, it was very precise. Who the hell did that? When he looks at the shooters trying to help him, it was that same woman from before. The mercenaries think it's impossible and run away when they see the girl. He thinks, okay, it looks like they've escaped for now. He continues hanging there. After a while, he reaches the mages and sees the girl who helped him walking away. He goes up to her to thank her. He says, thank you for helping me just now. She just walks away and says, I didn't do it to receive any gratitude, so it's fine. He says, oh, okay. He thinks, wow, she has the most beautiful voice I've ever heard, but she seems a bit hard to approach. He thinks about those mercenaries chasing him again, though known only as bandits who raid nearby villages. Their activities are managed by the Dark Demon cult, but he thinks it's over for now. The moment he crossed this cliff, he entered the wizard's territory. The dark and demonic forces can't pursue him here, not to mention, they don't even know who I am. Suddenly, a system screen appears in front of him. It talks about episode 2, enroll at Stella Academy. And look, guys, it's a mistake. It's not an episode written, it's an episode. He thinks, am I already on the 2nd episode? It doesn't seem like it will be too hard to enroll since I have the letter. But when he realizes it's a school where he's studying, he thinks, I'll have to go back to studying even in this new place. We see the carriage with our protagonist and the wizards passing through this snowy valley. It seems our protagonist fell asleep, but apparently he's dreaming. In this dream, he's talking to his mother. He's still a child, he says. says, "Mom, I'll be a wizard when I grow up." She says, "I believe in you, Yusu." He thinks the second-hand magic book his parents worked so hard to buy for him really saved him. He studied a lot to make his parents happy. But when he went to the doctor, she asked if he really said he had monoleakage syndrome. Beak was shocked by this. In his dream, our protagonist realizes these are the memories of the character, Beak Yusol. Beak starts crying a lot, knowing he can't use magic. Suddenly, our protagonist wakes up, his head hurting a bit. When he looks out the carriage window, it's already morning. A mage says, "Ah, you're awake now. I saw you waking up just now. We'll reach Lesotho soon." But before that, they stop for a short break. Our protagonist stretches, feeling lazy. He notices that same girl looking at him. When he looks back, she turns away. He thinks, yes, she must be very cold, right? He thinks, all right, but things are going well, considering how worried I was. He's happy that this timeline isn't too far from modern times. We learn that there is magic in the world of Edu, but in safe cities, trains, flying ships, and even some teleportation are available to the public to make long journeys more convenient. By the way, he thinks they're going to Lesotho now to get a flying ship. Lesotho is on the way to Arcanium. The real episode starts in Arcanium, the city of magic. There are renowned magic towers, orders of magical knights, and the 5 prestigious Arcanium academies. The academy with the most powerful wizards and exceptional students is Stella Academy. He thinks that's why the academy is full of geniuses and nobles from around the world. The protagonist still doesn't know how Beak Yusol got into that academy. He thinks they didn't check his abilities. He shows them his monoleakage syndrome. It's like an ability and is at level 1. His strength increases by 3%, his agility by 5%, and his sensitivity by 10%. Currently, the secondary abilities of the syndrome are Sixth Sense. It consumes mental power to activate this ability. It detects any kind of mana within a 12-meter radius. It also activates detection acceleration, but this ability also activates automatically when danger is detected. He thinks, Sixth Sense and detection acceleration. I'd be dead without these two. Peace. The mana in his body, which is the mana leakage syndrome, is a type of inherent and innate curse, meaning you're born with it. However, this makes him detect mana around him with a sixth sense. It also makes him feel attacks coming his way, even the ones he can't see. The detection speed makes him feel like he's in slow motion. In quotes, he can detect even attacks faster than normal human detection. He thinks this ability is crucial for Beak Yusol since he doesn't use mana. However, Sixth Sense can't stay active for too long. It uses a lot of mental power. Overuse can have severe consequences. Now, he checks his stats, and we see Beak Yusol's statistics. Strength, 1 star, 59%. Agility, 1 star, 81%. Endurance, 0 stars, 97%. Sensitivity, 1 star, 97%. Stamina, 1 star, 51%. Mental power, 1 star, 43%. These percentages, folks, indicate how close he is to reaching the next star. He has no mana, and the remaining XP needed to level up is 10. Blink abilities are at level 0, and his syndrome, Traces, is at level 1. He thinks, actually, this isn't bad at all. Beak originally had very low sensitivity. It seems he's gained some stats from the character he played in the game. In the world of Eder, there isn't just one level, but a level for each status. Abilities are composed of levels, and stats are composed of stars. The maximum for a stat is 9 stars, but that's essentially impossible to achieve. I played this game for 10 years, and the best I got was 8 stars in endurance and sensitivity. Now, I need to focus on sensitivity to increase my sixth sense and reaction speed. I can also increase my endurance and flexibility. The biggest problem now is his syndrome. If he doesn't train it, he won't survive for long. He needs to acquire the secrets of physical nature as quickly as possible. He says the way to improve his syndrome to something better is at Stella Academy. He thinks, I have no choice but to go there if I want to stop the end of the world and treat my syndrome. He thinks, I really don't want to go. I wish something would help me here. Suddenly, another system screen appears, and he says, it looks like I missed this. It seems he has some notifications he hadn't seen, but one of the wizards interrupts his thoughts and says, hey, let's go. He replies, okay. They get into the carriage, and he thinks, maybe it's better to check this later. Meanwhile, the wizard continues talking to him. They finally arrive at the flying ship, and the pilot, among the pilots, is addressing everyone. Now we're going to Arcania. Please take your seats for safety. Suddenly, our protagonist catches the attention of another passenger, who starts talking to the others. Hey, look at that guy. He looks like a lost child. Has he never flown on a flying ship? He must be a bumpkin. The guy calls out to him, saying, I don't know why Stella is letting these peasants into the school. It's supposed to be the most renowned academy in the world. They're tarnishing the academy's reputation with people like him. He says this while looking at the protagonist, who doesn't respond and just sighs. He thinks, kids are the same wherever I go. He ignores the guy. The guy gets angry. Did you just sigh at us? He gets even angrier. Hey, Hey, cut it out, man. But suddenly, everyone starts paying attention to something else and making a lot of noise. The protagonist looks back and asks, why is everyone making such a fuss? He sees a woman with white hair and red clothes. Princess Bayan. Even the protagonist turns around. Bayan, or Bian, as he decides to call her, is the princess of the Adelbai kingdom. Her name is Hong Bian Adelbai. She walks through the crowd with respect, impressing everyone. She's not wearing red clothes, just a red tie. Her outfit is white. The guy who was shouting earlier says, "Ah, your highness." She gives him a cold look and he becomes nervous, but she just walks towards the stairs, passing right by our protagonist. He thinks, so she's the main villain of the world. Hong Bian is one of the main characters of the game. She and the main female character of the game always had a rivalry. She dies at the end of the story, no matter which path you take. In some endings, she's brutally murdered. In others, she's bullied at school until she's expelled. In one ending, she suffers such humiliation that she never appears in public again. It seems like the developers had something personal against her and wanted to make her suffer no matter what. He sees that she's very popular among male characters and now understands why. She's very beautiful. Suddenly, his stomach growls. Maybe I should eat something. He sees various sweets that look like a pastry shop, but when he sees the price, he thinks, why is this so expensive? I'll eat when we get to Arcania. Another announcement is made throughout the ship saying, we will arrive at Arcanium in 10 minutes. Please proceed to the first floor. The protagonist thinks, finally, it's starting. Well, this is my reality now. Let's go all out. But he feels very uneasy. It's nice to be here, but can I really survive at the academy? Can I survive in this world? He remembers the black dragon from his cult. I really wish something could help me in a situation like this. He remembers the notification he hadn't checked yet and looks at the system window. It says, the Constellation Project offers you a special reward. It offers either a worse version of the items he used in the game, a worse version of the abilities he used before, or experience to level up attributes. He thinks, it seems like this system has a high commercial ethic. Which one should I choose? He thinks, can I obtain the most powerful abilities from my past life? The system responds that, based on the survey results, the level of the items he used before is too high, so they will be severely downgraded. He thinks about his hyperspace blink, but the system says, the mentioned ability is too advanced for your level and cannot be acquired. However, you can use the reward to slightly increase the level of your current blink. He thinks, do you really have to make everything worse? Due to the lack of your narrative power, we cannot fully materialize the rewards. The force that drives the story forward is called narrative power. If you continue to explore unknown parts of the story like you did yesterday, you will accumulate narrative power. Okay, so basically, you can't give me advanced items or abilities because I'm a beginner, right? He starts to ponder. He asks the system, what about the bulbul glasses? The system remains silent. Finally, it says, according to the system's examination, we conclude that we can provide them to you. He says, okay, I'll take them then. He receives a pair of glasses in his hands and thinks, I never thought I'd need to use these here. It's explained that the bulbul glasses contain all the information he collected while playing. In the world of Ether, it's impossible to read information about hunted monsters to gain knowledge, so players developed various items to store information differently. He thinks, I did that too. When he puts on the glasses, the system notifies him, glasses, bulbul, item description. Can you remember what you had for dinner yesterday? If not, don't worry anymore. With these glasses, you'll remember every little piece of knowledge you possess. They also have some additional features. One is the bulbul folder, and the other is the seal. To activate these features, you need to use mental power. He says, open the folder. The system responds, opening bulbul folder. And guys, it's bulbul with an L, okay? Not bum bum, just to clarify. Inside this folder are various subfolders. There's one for alchemical materials, another for hunting areas, another for dungeons, another for monsters, and another for characters. Looking at all this, he says, yes, it's good enough. Since this is now my real life, I don't know how much I can unlock the system to learn this. Okay, but with these glasses, I've already recovered half of one of the abilities I had. Suddenly, someone is talking about that wizard who came with him. Someone says, hey, is that Isel? Calm down. Are you talking about the eldest daughter of that traitor Malfi? They start whispering. How dare she show her face here? One of them says, SHH, shut up, she'll hear you. The protagonist thinks, Isel or Isel? Isel, Isel. I'll stick with Isel, okay? Guys, I won't say Isel, it'll be Isel. He thinks, now that I think about it, one of the functions of the bulbul glasses allows me to record some information about the character, including their role in the story. He opens Isel Moof's file. She is a false heroine. She uses thunder and ice magic. When she eats pizza, she drinks pickle juice. She's from the Moof family, whose downfall was caused by her father's death, and she also dies during the story. He thinks, so she is the false heroine. To explain Isel as the false heroine, heroine. He needs to explain another point in the story. Although the world of the game he comes from is called Eater World, the fact is that the game itself is based on a tale, a romance novel to be exact, called Don't Love the Princess. This novel is about the heroine Isol, who lost her entire family. She managed to grow throughout the story, facing the villainy of Hong Bian and eventually marrying the male protagonist. In the end, that feeling of vengeance completely disappeared, and all the male protagonists wanted to protect her. But the story had a sad ending because people didn't like it. The feedback was very negative. The problem is that even though the game is based on this novel, the story is completely different. In the game, an original character named Flame takes on the role of the heroine. Flame also has a backstory. She was a woman living a normal life in the modern world, who loved reading Don't Love the Princess, and was transported to the world of Etha. He thinks, so basically, she became the false heroine of the game, while Flame became the true heroine. After many players tried hard, they said there was no way for her to survive any of the story routes, resulting in her removal from the position of true heroine. Well, that's not my problem, but is it just my imagination? I feel like I've seen her somewhere. Okay, it must be my imagination. I should let it go. They finally arrive at Stella Academy. We see several students in well-fitted uniforms lined up, with an older gentleman speaking. As you already know, the dark human demons are those who embrace the power of the other world to turn people into monsters. Until this moment, the cult continues its invasion, opening gates to the other world or releasing ancient monsters and dungeons. Our destiny as wizards is to protect this world from the forces of darkness. Now, we will begin the ceremony for the new students, who were admitted based on their scores, and they are our new freshmen. We will now call to the podium all the top scoring students. We see many students here. I'm not sure if you can see, but the students climb onto the podium, the stage where the older man is speaking, and he thinks that everyone there are the main characters. But obviously, the standout here is Ma Yu-song. He appears much more mature than the others. He is the student who entered with the highest score of all. So, this is the famous Ma Yu-song. We learned that this character perfectly embodies the phrase, "Between heaven and earth, I am one in a million." He has a 9-star mana status and the potential to approach the realm of the divine. He is naturally a genius, capable of controlling all the elements of this world. The protagonist, even if he can't achieve the true ending, must avoid bad endings. To do this, he needs to bring evil and blood to the good side. But that doesn't depend on him. It entirely depends on Flame, the main character of the game, and how she will act moving forward. If she behaves like in his reality, it will be a good idea to leave Ma Yu-song with her. But things will get ugly if she sees him as an enemy. Given his advantage of information, he shouldn't take any risks. His role in the story can be compared to that of a shopkeeper. Additionally, the heroine has a special ability to purify the dark human demons. She also has an ability that can boost the power of those around her. Whether he likes it or not, she will affect him too. His job is to help the main character from a distance and not get too involved with her. The man in front, who looks like the director, says he, and with that, we conclude our entrance ceremony. The system appears. Episode 2, enrollment at Stella Academy is complete. And that same morning, at the academy, Baek was already in class with the other students, and he thinks, it's been a while since I graduated from college, so it's kind of weird to be in school again. But still, and he's looking at a gold watch. Having this here makes me feel happy. This is a Stella pocket watch. It is a watch that proves that you are a student of the Stella Magic Academy. If you have this, you will receive a better treatment and a better service than many people out there, even more than some warriors who have their licenses. And then he thinks, yeah, I have to use this somewhere. And someone enters through the door of the room. We see that it is the teacher, who is already very bruised and has a scar on his face. And he says, please sit down in your places. Let's start the test now. So take everything off the table and leave only what you use to write. And those who wear glasses will need to examine their precedent. And the beak thinks, so what follows after the ceremony is a test. And it is explained that the curriculum of the Stella Academy is more rigorous than any Korean university. You take a test even on your first day. It's called a class organization test. Class, that is, it is a test that will determine which class you will be in. So, start the test. And when the test is placed on the bike table, he thinks I have no idea what is being said here. And he has explained to us a little about the class placement test. Not to mention the test you have to do to enter the academy. This specific exam is known to be very difficult. Students are classified between class F to S based on the result of this test. And the teacher thinks, of course, the playable characters of the game are obviously in class S. And on the other side, we have Baek Yusal, 141 students. Can I just leave this page blank here? What are the chances of me being expelled? It is already being explained here that for sure he will already fall into class F. But one thing draws Baek's attention. He was for a student who is is further ahead, which is Ma Yusong, which is the most talented one we had seen before. And Baek thinks he's already finished. He's already finished the test. And now I understand why Proto is not being able to read anything. Look at this writing. Man, bye. And Baek thinks, it's not fair that living is so boring for this guy. And the nature of this character in the game is to be tedious. He is very bored. In the case of Ma Yusong, it is explained that he was born in the strongest family in the world. He has the most brilliant brain and the greatest talent in the world. Everything is easy for him. And Baek thinks for himself. Depending on the choices of the main female character, Ma Yusong can go both for the good side and for the bad side. The demonic humans of the shadows, who work to bring the world to ruin, certainly have an interest in Ma Yusong. Yeah, actually, his biggest problem is his family, to begin with. Anyway, looking at a genius made me compare myself to him even more. And our prototype's leaf is white. Then I think, wait, can I use Bulbul's glasses on this? While I was playing, I acquired several additional skills there in the library. Well, I have nothing to lose, so let's check. And he's already taking his glasses off his inner pocket. But then the teacher appears right next to him at the time, and he said, "What are these glasses? I didn't say that if a student wore glasses, I would have to check first." And Baek thinks, "It's true," he said, and he takes the glasses and says, "I'll examine them." And he starts to analyze if there's mana in the glasses. And Baek gets very nervous, and he thinks, if he knew there was magic there, maybe I would be expelled. Suddenly, a message from the system. The system appears to him. Then a missing part of the boo-boo glasses is felt. Would you like to call her? In case you want to call a window for him to see. Then Bike says no. No, please, no. No, no, no. System. While the teacher is just there looking, analyzing, and then he finally returns the glasses to Bike, and he says, "I couldn't feel any hand there. Be sure to talk to me before next time." Yes, of course. And Bike thinks, if the item had not been harmed by the system, maybe they were in trouble now, right? Bye-bye. Now let's go. And he already puts on his glasses, and the paper starts to show the answers. And he thinks, wow, I can really see something with him. That was a stroke of luck. What if I get first place with this? I'm definitely going to escape from class F. But suddenly, the teacher in front of him says, "The exam is over. Give me the papers." And the guy is like, what? Then all the papers fly in the direction of the teacher. And the guy thinks, I only managed to finish 3 questions. Then the teacher starts reading the tests, and he is shocked. He thinks, damn it. I thought I was going to escape from class F. Yeah, but I think this is still too much for Bucky and Saul. But something draws his attention when he takes off his glasses, and it's the teacher who's yelling at him. And he says, "Give me your glasses now. Quick, quick." And Bucky says, "Sorry." Then he takes the glasses again and says, "No, no way." And he calls a student out of nowhere and says, "Hey, you, take this to Dr. Grayon." The boy who thinks, what was that all of a sudden? I didn't even write so clearly like that for me to be caught for being glued to the test. Did I get caught? While this is in the doctor's room, the teacher is asking, "What's up, doctor?" And he says, and he's analyzing the glasses. This is a magic engineer and Professor Dr. Grayon. And he says, yeah, the fact that he has answered these questions that way is really very suspicious. And the professor says, so he really glued it. And the doctor says, no, he didn't do that. I can't feel any magic tool or any energy from these glasses or any of his things. He definitely solved it with his own skills. He already puts his hand on the shoulder of the bike, all happy. How interesting, isn't it? I thought I'd never see that in my life. Anyway, Professor Lee Hang-woo apologizes to the student and guides him well in his classes. And he says, understood. And all embarrassed, he says, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. And the guy who's thinking, to tell you the truth, I got it. And he thinks, if the original functions were still working, I would really be in trouble now. But he just tells the teacher, it happens. And he thinks again, that was pure luck. And now, later in the academy, now in the teacher's room, Professor Lee was correcting the tests, and he was paying a lot of attention to question one of all the tests, until a person suddenly calls for him, and it looks like she's a teacher too. And she says, are these proofs from the new Kaluros? And he says, yes. And she says, I heard there are some special Kaluros this year, and this woman is part of the Council of Elders of the Stella Academy, and she is Professor Edelthaman. And he says, yeah, apparently there is. So we have a brief presentation about the Kaluros that may be interesting. From the most renowned family when it comes to fire magic, we have Hongbian Adelbai from the Kingdom of Flames. We also have a Kaluro who is chosen as the successor to the position of Prince of the Scalvan Empire, with 12 years only because of his magic. And he is Jeremy Scalvan, who completely surpassed his older brothers to get the throne. And from the greatest magic tower to we have the successor of the master of the Full Moon Tower. I don't know this name in Korean. And the teacher keeps talking. Yeah, I heard it was hard to make questions for these students of these big families. This year, for sure, they had interesting questions. And the teacher replies, yeah, good that you're enjoying it. But he goes back to pay attention to the tests. And he thinks, as the teacher Adele Temem mentioned, the class class setting this time was made with a new type of question. The first 3 questions are the most difficult for students to solve, especially for those who studied in the ordinary and normal way. And there are intentions behind these 3 questions. Flexibility test. If you have a problem that you can't solve at all, can you move quickly to the next question? Second, how do you solve a problem that never appeared in any of the books you read? And the teacher thinks the age of magic in which people need to memorize theories is over. Now what really prevails fast is quick thinking and creativity. But in fact, these questions were not made to be solved. Only 141 of the students answered them. And in the order of the 100 students who answered these questions, the vast majority did not get a correct answer. Among the new students, only 3 were able to answer this question correctly. Ma Yu-song, the prodigy of the century, who appeared as if he were a comet, but his origins are unknown. And there's also Flame, who got a direct admission from the principal despite being a country girl and is recognized as one of the talents, getting close to Ma Yu-song. And we also have Baek Yu-sol. Ma Yu-song and Flame are considered geniuses. Baek Yu-sol had a very bad grade to get admitted to school, and I didn't expect him to be able to solve these first 3 questions, especially when he could only solve these 3. And the teacher next to him says, "I don't know why you're so upset. I'm worried about the score of the new students." And he says, "It looks like there's a student whose score doesn't make the slightest sense." And she says, "It does make sense. Yes, despite having several formulas and equations that he can't solve, you yourself can solve it without knowing anything." And he says, "Do you think this child here could be some kind of genius?" And she says, "Or it could just be a coincidence." And he sighs, getting a little frustrated with that. And he already has a ticket, kind of in the bike registration, and it's written, "Guaranteed special admission due to your mastery of the blink ability." And the teacher thinks, so this child that the director admitted is really different, right? And he gives a smile. A combat wizard specialized in blink. In the future, we will know if it is really special or if it was a mere coincidence. While everyone is leaving the class, right after finishing the tests, there are some people saying, "Yeah, I heard that the score will be in a frame." Huh. And the other says, "Oh, I'm so stressed. My mom said I won't go home until I get at least in class A." And our protagonist is thinking to himself, "I don't believe I had to do this personally. In the game, you could check your class with just 1 click." Then he sees the frames saying all the students and their classes, and someone pays a lot of attention to Bike, and people start whispering about him. "I heard he got 0 in the magic application. How did he get into this academy? Now I'm questioning the standards of this academy." And he thinks, well, think whatever you want. I'm just going to check the class I took. Oh, no, that matters a lot, right? And he goes straight to frames E and F, but he just doesn't see his name, neither in F nor in E. And he thinks, my name is not here. Did I fail the test completely just because I answered 3 questions? Oh, now I'm dying. But there are people talking about his name. Bike, you so what do you mean? This has to be a mistake. Can someone get this out of here? It looks like there are more people around a specific frame, and that draws the attention of Baek too. They are saying that there are very talented people who ended up in class A. And how is Baek here? And he thinks, what's going on? It's something very strange. Am I going to check it out? Then he takes a walk, gets close to people, and he is amazed to see his name is in class S. Class S, Baek and the sun. Why is my name written there? It can't be. What's going on? I don't know. The most special grade, the one that all students dream of being, the S grade. It is the place where the most special students of the school are, and of the Stella Academy even. It is different from the other grades, which have several other graded grades. The S grade only has 41 students, all in one class, and he thought, what? I got it in class S. Oh, this looks like a mistake. Huh. It looks like I'm going to run into the main characters of the game earlier than I expected. Running into the protagonist early like this will further diminish my life, which is already small in this game, and I can't even change my class. Well, now I just have to do my best to pass discreetly among everyone. I'll be able to do this somehow. And at first Flame was watching our protagonist, and there are 2 protagonists, right? There is the protagonist of the game and the protagonist of the world. And there's our protagonist, who's a dick in life. In this next scene, we come across a castle. We see that it looks like a room, and someone slapping Beyonce's face. And this woman says, you missed 3 questions. Even Princess Excel, who is the daughter of that horrible Dutch, managed to miss only 2. And she is the elementary teacher of the element of fire, Hong Yol. You're not even able to answer these questions that those insects got. That means you're smaller than an insect. You should rethink what you did as an insect now, and don't do it again. Do you understand, Bian? And Bian says, yes, Mom. And the mother just keeps staring at her on the floor. But she reconsiders a little and says, listen to me, Bian, you can't be like me, who was hunted all over the kingdom and ended up in this place. Stupid position of teacher. You cannot be the shame of the kingdom. Then she lowers herself and grabs her daughter's face, and she says, you have to become a better existence than your sister. And she gives a very evil smile. You understand what I mean, right? And Beyonce they respond, of course, Mom. But in her head, she does not understand. She says she just wants to live the way she thought and solve the way she thought. Problems composed by magic she did not learn, spells she did not learn, formulas she did not learn, and she starts crying and wonders why she's tormenting her life that way. And now, meanwhile, in Class S, we have a class, right, with 41 students in Class S, and our proto is thinking, oh, I'm screwed. Of course I came to a place full of weird antisocials. Then he starts to hear some bubbles and more gossip about him again. Like, how is he here? That's what I know. I haven't been able to find out yet. Did you see that our parents protested to find out why he was in Class S? And the only answer from the academy was, Bike and Saul have the qualifications to be a Class S. Is that serious? It doesn't make any sense. And Bike thinks, well, I think I'm an exile. Well, they've been working since they were young, haven't they? Beast, man. He says that while stretching. So I would also be frustrated if I knew that a person like me would be in the same class as a person who has worked so hard. Well, people are changing classes according to the tests that happen periodically, so it's okay. And Class S is not exempt from this. Of course, there are other reasons for a person to be downgraded, but now that I think about it, it seems that there will be a male student who will leave Class A and go up to Class S. I remember that from the game story. Well, I'll find out later. Anyway, it's pretty impressive to think that these game characters are well ahead of me. In a few years, these students will become the most famous in the world, and at least 5 of them will have the opportunity to betray the magic world, and my Yuzong is one of them. If Flamey can stop what's going on, it would be very good. Then Professor Lee appears again and says to everyone sitting down, it's a pleasure to meet all of you. I'm sure some of you have already seen me, but I'm going to introduce myself formally. I am the teacher of the S class, Lee Hanwall. So people start talking about him. So this is the famous Professor Lee Hanwall. The number of humans of the molecular system that he hunted is impressive. He is called the 7th Magic Knight. He's really on another level. Please, everyone sit down. It seems that there are several talented students here with me today, and also a very unique student. As you all know, this is a place where we foster combat mages, and just like the magic warriors, you will receive a rigorous experience and education during these 3 years. I don't expect all of you to be able to keep up with the rhythm, but I want you to give me the best you have in this half time. Any questions? But the whole class is silent. Well, let's start the class then. But it seems that Bjorn is entering the class only now, and Proto thinks of Bjorn right away, who follows all the rules of the class, and she starts talking to the teacher, and Proto thinks, something happened for sure. Well, I'm going to use the boo-boo glasses to check it out, and we see the file of Hong Bian Adelbot. She is a villain, a fire mage, likes a red fire candy, occasionally burns herself. She only drinks espresso if it's the right way, has a very evil mother, and is guaranteed to die during the story. And Prada thinks, no, that's not it. Guaranteed to die. The end. If Isel died because of flame, Hong Bian dies both because of Isel and because of flame. We can say that this is the inevitable end of this villain. While he takes off his glasses, he thinks, I would like to save her if I could, but it's not like I'm in a position to help. In the meantime, the teacher is already guiding her to her place. Yeah, I feel bad about it, but I have to keep my distance from the story. But when he realizes she will sit right next to him, and she gives him that sinister look, and he gets a little nervous, but she just sits in silence right next to him. What is this? It looks like the table has been turning since I got to this academy, right? And the teacher keeps talking up front. But before we start the class, we will have the succession of cetros for the activities that will take place inside the school. Class S and Class A will do the succession of cetros together, and our protagonist thinks he would be the successor of cetro, right? I'm talking about cetro, but it can be staff too. Anyway, yeah, it sounded a little boring, but I was waiting for it. I see. There are 2 big events at the Stella Academy. One of them is the contract ceremony with the relative, and the second is the Cetrus succession ceremony. As the academy is awarded, which the Stella Academy is, the Cetrus succession ceremony also has something special. I did some research, and apparently Cetrus has another translation too. Apparently, it's a Cetrus, so I'm going to stop calling it a scepter, and I'm going to call it a staff. From there, they are taken to a very cool environment. In fact, it seems that it is all imbued with mana and magic, and the teacher asks, is everyone here? There are staffs here prepared for the lower class and for the upper class. All you have to do is go up here and get the staff you like best. The process to change an already chosen staff is very complicated, so choose it wisely and carefully. And Proto thinks, yeah, I thought he would say that. Actually, it's not us who are choosing our staffs. It's another way. In the Ether world, the staffs correspond and react to the person who best adapts to them, causing this person to command them, causing the effect of resonance. This means that you, being a low class, cannot get a high class staff just because you want to. For example, and our plot goes around the staff. Anyway, which one should I choose? If it were before, I would probably choose a class F staff, but I have to think think wisely, since now I'm a classist. The staff that best adapts to my position is a wand. Staffs are usually separated into two classes, the short form, which is the wand, and the long form, which is the staff. Wands are usually chosen by the magic knights, making Kuki be able to use spells quickly. But on the other hand, the staffs themselves are more used by the bishop class, that focus on only one magic for a long time, and people are talking behind him, what's up? What are you going to get? And a guy starts mumbling about our prota again, my god. People love to gossip about him. Since he's a class S, he shouldn't have problems with resonance, right? And he just turns his face and thinks, you can think whatever you want. Then a person calls the attention of the bike, and the bike asks, who are you? And he says, I'm Uslex, and Prota thinks, what do you mean? What name is that? It's the first time I've heard that name. And he says, so. And Slek asks him, what staff are you thinking of getting? And Bayek answers, I don't know, anything. And Slek just went there to make fun of him. You should get a staff that puts you in your place as a plebeian. Don't make any fuss that comes to cause trouble for the teachers. But Bayek just completely ignores the guy, turns things around and says, yeah, and you shouldn't cause any trouble either. And the guy gets really pissed off about it, and he starts cursing our fucking teacher, Prota, that I don't know what. Do bad tumult. He who said not to marry tumult, and look who's getting married in tumult. And the guy says, do you want to start a fight? And our Prota, oh, what an unbearable guy. And he takes Bobol's glasses and starts reading his file. His name is Zelek Zekbalan. He is the son of Marquis Zekbalan, is a prince of some shit there, and is a guy who does third category bullying. And Prota keeps his glasses and says, is that all the information I have about him? Oh, how figurative this guy is. Then he simply points to one of the staff, and he said, I'm going to get that one, so you should watch it up close. And the protagonist with that staff is Ed Murray's Edamile. And we see that it looks like a very beautiful staff. Look at that. And the protagonist thinks this one must be the most powerful one here. A high-class one. Usually high-class staffs are used by professional magic warriors. On the other hand, it doesn't matter which one, how talented you are. The low-class ones will be the limit for the students, especially when even some professionals can only get a low-class one to this day. But correcting me, there is another high-class staff here. In addition to Ed Murray's Edamile, he's not here for anyone to get him, but just to be exposed. And the teacher says everyone should stand in front of the staff they want. And the staff already selects the staff they want, right? And out of nowhere, a very bright shine appears, and people are commenting, hey, did Hyrule get that high-class staff? And the other girl says, did Prince Skaven also get a middle-class one? And the other person says, Princess Hong Bian, she chose Suave Turlaraven, is also a middle class. And even that figure that I even forgot the name, he gets pissed for being left behind. And he says, just wait, I'll get it. Then he approaches Ed Murray, and people keep saying, isn't that slack? Can he really get a high-class staff? And he's thinking, watch carefully. I'll show you what a real S-class can do. But when he gets the staff, a very strong magic hits him, and Prota thinks, as expected, he failed miserably in the resonance. And we see the slacks falling on the floor, all screwed up, all burned. And the person says, wow, it looks like he got hurt. Hey, someone call a teacher. And the person says, I think some high class is impossible. And Prata thinks, yeah, if it were you, I would give up soon. Then we see Mu and Song approaching, and Prata says, I think you better give up, because the owner of the staff is already there. And it's Mayusong. I said Mayusong. It was bad, guys. Then people say, will he really try to get the high class one? And people keep saying, I don't think he can handle Ed Murray's Edamile. But when he gets it in the cassock, unlike the other one, a very colorful, very beautiful shine comes out, and he successfully gets the resonance. And people are out of luck. The student who just arrived managed to get a high class one, and the teacher thinks, yeah, I already knew that. Now a lot of people know how talented he is. Then Milesong notices that Prota is looking at him and smiles at Prota, and Prota thinks, what? Did he lose his mind? Anyway, Flamey also got a high class one, which is called Terravan, and this is where the routes start to split. Thervon, Mayasong would be interested in her because of her conquest, opening the route of the game Mayasong. But if she went to another staff and opened a completely different route, and he thinks, I need to make Flame bring Mayasong to our side. And right at that moment, Protobelt observes her going in the direction of that same staff he was talking about. And he says, this is Thervon. What are you going to do? Flame? Yes, go, get the Terravan. We see that she is just facing for now. That way, Miles Wong will be interested in her, and we will have the possibility of getting the happy ending. But she just passes by Terravan, and the Prada thinks, what? Why did she do that? She is not interested in Terravan. What's going on? She doesn't know. Maybe she doesn't have enough information. Oh, anyway, this is bad, son. She will be able to resonate with any staff. She is the protagonist, and if she ends up getting a strange staff, we will lose all the good routes we have at the moment. At this point, I have no other choice but to push Terry Vaughn to her, and he uses the blink in her direction. But it's been a while since the plant used a blink, a beautiful blink. Flamey gets a little scared of our protagonist, and she thinks, how did he get here? And he starts to laugh nervously. Then he says, ah, are you choosing which staff you're going to get yet? She says, how do you know that? Huh? I just wanted to help because you looked lost, you know? She says, but that's not in your interest, huh? Okay? Bye, and our protagonist is left behind. Poor thing, he was ignored by the protagonist of the game. He says, wait, oh, there's something strange about this. The protagonist, Flamey, was supposed to be a very sociable person. Why is she being so cold like that? I can't let her go like that so easily. My life is depending on it. And he says, hey, wait, I really want to help you choose one. Think about your own staff, man. But I see a staff that is perfect for you. It's right in your face. He looks like a salesman. And Flynn asks, what do you know about staff, huh? And he thinks, why is she so angry? What did I do wrong? Or she doesn't care about the extras. And he says, I've heard a lot about you. Don't you think you're able to get that staff over there? And she asks, the TR one? Yeah, that's it. And suddenly a noise scares the protagonist a little. And he says, what was that noise? And when he notices something, he goes in his direction. He closes his eyes, but then he slowly opens and he realizes that the TR1 is in his hand. And he keeps admiring for a while until he understands. And he says, why? Why is this in my hand? It was for Flame to get this here. Oh, shit. Flame. And she looks like a lot of whore. And she says, why? And he says, nothing. Now I'm foo. Word with F. A lot of word with F. And after the ceremony, the people are already leaving. The sun is already setting. And now we see the perspective of Flame. Now it looks like he's playing the game. Now the protagonist is Flame. And she whispers to you in the background, have you heard? This year, 2 students managed to get high-class staff. Wow, really? Historically, only 5 people managed to do that. So it increased to 2 people. Only this year. Yeah, but if it wasn't weird enough, one of the students can only use blink. No other magic. Oh, but blink is a basic magic. How is it possible? My parents said that blink is a very bad magic. Did something go wrong? And Flamey is just listening to all this. And she goes to the self-study hall. She goes through the corridors and says, oh, I finally found the silence. Man, they were just talking about that guy. It doesn't matter where I went. The news about the 2 students who managed to catch the high-class staff spread very quickly throughout the school. But I can't understand. And she remembers the scene of our prota getting everything. Terravan. At the time she thought, no way, he just caught Terravan. Who is this guy? I read the original novel 3 times before being here, but a character called Bike and the sun never appeared. And it looks like there's an ice guy inside the ice guy. Guys, oh my god, it looks like there are 2 characters in the same ice guy. Damn it. Okay, this is getting interesting, okay? And she thinks, and it was said in the novel that no one managed to get to Erevan. But did this guy manage to resonate with her so easily? Is he trying to show off to me? That doesn't make sense to think about now. And someone calls Flame, and it's a group of girls who are after her. And she says, oh, are you going to study now too? And she's a little frustrated, but she turns into a very nice little smile. You can see that this Flame is a fake. And she says, do you think I'm a nerd or something like that? And she says, no, actually, you always say that when I have nothing to do, you study. And she says, it's not quite like that. And another girl in the group says, but Flame, why do you call us children if we are the same age? It's just a habit. I've always been treated by much older people since I was born. We see inside Flame's head. Oh, I still have to understand that I'm in the novel. She's my gift now, so I can't act exactly like that. Oh, damn. Flame is an older person just like our protagonist. My god in heaven. It's going to be hard for you too to realize that you're in the same ice guy. But what is Flamey's goal? The bike that saved the world. I don't know about her. Then another girl says, are you going to help Flamey alone again? And she starts to think her name is Jack, I think. Why is her hair so similar to mine? And Flamey answers, no, not alone. There is a special supplementary meeting for me to participate, so I'm going there to do that. Anyway, I'm going to this one. And the girl says, oh, yeah, alright, let's go to a coffee shop next time then. And Flamey goes out saying goodbye to them, and she kind of sighs. Oh, these girls. It's very complicated to deal with a student of that age. And she ends up bumping into someone, and the person says, Flamey. And she understands. And it's Heewan Hyung, Heewan Hyung. It's the guy from the Full Moon Tower that we talked about earlier, because his name is a disgrace. Then he says, are you okay? She says, yes, I'm fine. Your expression is not so good. Did something happen? And she thinks, is she worried about me? And she says, no, nothing happened. And he asks, are you going to high school? And she says, yes, I'm going. And you, are you going to the exclusive training field for the S class? And he just says, you can't be so lazy like that. You have to train every day. And she says, you are unnecessarily sincere. And to be honest, that's not something you should say. Oh, really? Yeah. They kind of face each other for a while. And he gives a smile. Then he puts his hand on her shoulder and says, so, see you later. And he walks out, and she is admiring him. And she thinks, oh, what a sweet boy. And she sees that there's another person watching her. And to tell you the truth, that was pretty scary. There was a person in the corner of the hallway looking at her. And it's that so-called Jackie. And she thinks, yeah, Jackie, why is she still here? And when she goes to call Jackie, Jackie runs away. Then she thinks, it doesn't matter. It's not the time for that. And she goes to the self-study hall, a special supplementary meeting. According to the original novel, Aizel and Hongbian will be in this meeting. It is very important that I see this link between the villain and the original protagonist of the novel. She's coming into this room, right? And we notice that the characters are there, including our protagonist in the background. And Flamey thinks all the important characters are here. Let's see, it seems that this time who is giving the class is Kyle from Class A. Yeah, it looks like he's taking care of it. These meetings here are for students to improve their curricular grades and see how high-class students are participating. And she thinks even Maya Song is here. And Maya Song is being extremely friendly with our protagonist, which is very boring. This scene is very good, man. And Flamey thinks, Maya Song, he who can be considered the strongest male magician in the world. He's interested in the bike and the sun. This is definitely not a coincidence. And apparently this bike and the sun didn't solve anything beyond the 3 questions of hell. And she thinks he knew from the beginning that he just needed to answer the first 3 to be in Class S. And she starts to doubt our protagonist.